What happens when you get to sit down with one of your mentors? You'll get to see today as I interview Pastor Lori Lavender. Then we'll travel and get some front porch wisdom from my mom, Noveline Brant. After that, we're going to get some perspective from Pastor James Klein. All here today on Soul Purpose. Pastor Lori Lavender is one of my dearest friends. We caught up with her in Cleveland, Tennessee, and she told us about her new book and about her ministry. Take a look. Pastor Lori Lavender, I'm so thankful and just grateful that you've had the opportunity to come and just meet with me today and speak with me. You and your husband, Pastor Henry, are the senior pastors and the founders of Living Life in Victory Church in Memphis, Tennessee. Yes, and you are an author. And you have a brand new book out called By the Hands of a Woman Named Grace, which has touched me, and it is so anointed, and I don't want to get emotional yet, but it has just been a phenomenal book.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to pen that book?
Wow. What inspired me? I was literally on my way to a conference, and I bought a book, and this book was a 30-day devotional. And I thought, wow, this is so nice. So I began to read it on the airplane. And then by the time I made it home, I said, you know what? I'm going to just take this, and I'm just going to walk through this book every day, this 30-day journal. And the Lord spoke so clearly. It was audible. He spoke and said, that same book that you're reading is on the inside of you. There's one sitting inside of you. And literally, Christy, I looked down at myself, huh? What's inside of me? I can't write. You know, I can't do this. And I kept reading the book, and as a matter of fact, I put it down. I just put it down. And then I go back to my bedroom, and I kept hearing that voice say to me, you can do this. There are many books inside of you. You're an author. I said, I can't even talk good. I can't pronunciate good, let alone make sure that I've got all of my commas, my periods are in the right place. This is me talking to God. But something on the inside, that small voice kept saying, you can do it, and you know you can do it. And I thought, can I? So I decided to just think about something that I love in the Bible. Just a story in the Bible, which is the Samaritan woman. I love the Samaritan woman. So I began to read John 4, and I just kept reading John 4 over and over again. And I began thinking of how she had these many husbands, and they were not her husband. The guy she was with was not her husband. And I began just to take each verse, and I began to see different stories just from each verse in John 4. And so what I did, I took the book, 30 Days, and it's basically talking about the Samaritan woman from verse 1 all the way to the end verses. After looking at it, I took it and I'm not really good with computers, so I go to the computer and I love colors, I love flowers, I'm a flower girl. So I go in PowerPoint, I put up, I just kind of added some flowers around it, and I put day 1. And it was like, day 1. But it was like day 1 came alive, and I hadn't even touched the paper. And then I heard the Spirit say to me, type on a piece of paper, by the hands of a woman named Grace, coming soon, near stores near you. And I laughed at it, but I obeyed. I took it, printed it out, put it on the refrigerator door. So my children kept going, my grandbabies. By the hands of a woman named Grace, 30-day devotional. Grandma, what is that? I said, that's my new book I'm about to write. Even though I started December the 5th of 2010, it took me 7 years to complete 30 days of that book. and because of all the hindrances that showed up for doing so. So it was inspired by me reading someone else's book that I had no idea that I could write a book, author one.
When you recorded a CD
I did.
that goes along with it.
Yes.
I love the book. I love the book. I love the fact that I can journal in it. I can write my thoughts, my prayers, and it just, as I read, it inspires me. It makes me want to dig deeper and get involved and get deeper in my word. But when I put the CD in the car, I didn't want to get out of the car.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot.
It is the most calm, anointed, peaceful minute of my day.
Thank you. We give God glory.
Now, was that your intent? Was that what you intended to elicit?
Well, after I began writing, and I began to look at my book, and then I thought about most journals or devotional. If you think about them, they go from subject to subject each day. Mm-hmm. But I thought, what about taking and dragging out John 4 about this woman that didn't know who she was? She was empty, met her Savior at the well, had no idea that just going to get some water, to fetch some water out of the well, that her own Savior, Jesus, would stop by to just say, hey, I want to change your life forever. I just need you to give me your empty well and allow me to fill it with me. And I said, God, that's good. I like that, because I knew it wasn't me. And he said, tell the story, tell a story. So I began to just take it and just dissect every scripture. Even when he said to her that, he said, you have a husband? And she says, no. He says, you answered me well. He said, at that moment, the Spirit of truth was standing right in front of her. Who can stand in front of Jesus and not tell the truth? Who can do that? And so she began to say, wow, are you a prophet? Who are you? Because, no one, I've never felt what I feel when I'm talking to you. So I put myself in her shoes, and I was going, God, this is really good. How do you really get excited about something that you write that you've never written before? Because it wasn't me. It was something that God wanted in the earth, that he wanted other women to be encouraged by. That even though you're going through things in life, that one day, when you get to your end and the limitations in this life, that you call on Jesus, not with your lips, but our hearts. So there was a lot of things going on the inside of this Samaritan woman. And I like the part where Jesus says, wow, the fields are white. They're white with fields. It's just, things are getting good. And the disciples come back and say, are you hungry? And this is the part I love, Chrissy. He says, my meat. I'm not hungry. My thirst has been already quenched. And I look at Jesus and he says, my meat is to do the will of the one who sent me and to finish his will. He didn't need food. A spiritual food shows up and just quenches this man's hunger, because now a woman that was empty, disencouraged, maybe had low self-esteem, or maybe people talked about her because, hey, this is number 5, number 6, or number 7. Can you imagine divorce?
The time.
Once you get married, you're supposed to stay married, right? So can you imagine that? And he says, no. If you drink the water that I give you, you'll never thirst again. But the water that you drink, you'll always be thirsty. And you always need me to come back and quench that thirst. So I began to get so excited, about Jesus talking about this lady. And he says, I want to break down every part of her, how I made her a worshiper. She become a worshiper. She goes back and tell everybody, hey, I met this guy. And this guy, he didn't want to sleep with me.
Wasn't
that good? He didn't look at me in either a lustful way. He didn't want me for that reason. He wanted to come and help me empty out all those things that I'd gone through as a child, in my childhood, or in my marriage. So I thought, Jesus, this is good.
Hello, again, I'm here with Pastor Lori Lavender, and this is her new book, her new baby, and it's called By the Hands of a Woman Named Grace. Now you can get this at onlyjustbelieve.org, And she has an audio CD 2-part set that goes along with it. And you can get it at the same place.
Yes.
So now, do you have another email or something, another contact besides that website?
They can write to 4300 Raleigh LaGrange, and that's in Memphis, Tennessee, 38128. And you will just ask us about that book, and we'll get it right out to you.
You want this book, and you want this CD. You want the set. You can get them separate, I know.
Yes.
But you want this in your car. Just like I've talked about to everyone I've talked to, once I put this in my car, I don't want to turn my car off because I don't want to turn this off. This will bless you as much as it's blessed me. So I'm expecting you to check with www.onlyjustbelieve.org.
For more information on Soul Purpose, go to www.blankenshipministries.org. If you would like more information on being a sponsor of Soul Purpose, call 304-922-2620 or email soulpurposebroadcast@gmail.com, subject line sponsor. If you would like more information on being a partner of Soul Purpose, call 304-922-2620 or email soulpurposebroadcast@gmail.com, subject line partner. Or you can write to Soul Purpose at P.O. Box 127, Bluefield, West Virginia 24701. And now back to Soul Purpose.
This front porch wisdom needs no introduction. Here's my mom, Noveline Brant.
When I was 25, I wished I knew now, of course, what I didn't know then, is that to hold on with both hands and feet, never let go. Because if we let go, it's our fault. God will never, ever, He'll never say, oh, I'm too busy for you today. He never, ever is too busy for us. And it's up to us to always hold on. We have to hold on, we have to be diligent, we have to be deliberate. We have to deliberately seek Him. I mean, it's easy to say, because I do that, and I did that. I have to do this. I'll do this first, I'll do this first. And you can't put Him on the shelf because it's really easy to do because He doesn't gather dust. You don't have to dust Him. You know where He's at. You go back and pick Him up. But you have to hold on because you have things that's going to hit you every day. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday will not be the same as Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Never, ever. But to hold on, never, ever give up hope that it can't or won't get better, because it will always get better with God. When you're so busy, if you're a busy mom and you are so tired at the evening time that you only want to go to bed, well, you're passing up the best thing to do is to read your Bible. Sit down, relax with God, and He will take all the cares of the day away. He just washes them. Because He gives you energy for tomorrow to start all over again. And when you go to sleep, your family's safe and you know they're in His arms. And that's the end of the day. I got saved when I was 16, and I was really young in it. And at the time, my mom and dad wasn't going to church, even though they had been when they were younger, I'm sorry. And I had one sister that was saved at that time, but I didn't really glean from her. So I just was happy that I was saved. That was just the thing. I was saved from everything. I didn't really understand what it meant, even though the preacher told me, but it still as a 16-year-old to go through high school with peers and everything. It was really, really tough. I think I truly latched on to God when my kids were older. You would think it'd be when they were younger because we had health issues with Christy mostly and some with Stephen. But I think when I saw what was before them at my age, what I had to deal with, and their world was so much more faster and different and more advanced and more threatening than my 16-year-old was. And when Christy went to college, I was beside myself. I mean, I can't tell you how beside myself I was because I feared for her, even though she done 10 times better than I did. And when Stephen went to college, he gleaned from Christy, so he already had a step above, you know, already had started with it. But in my 40s, I believe, I really do think that my late 30s, my early 40s is when I really got close to him because I couldn't hold her no more. I couldn't hold Stephen. I had to let them cross the road by themselves. And that was really tough because it's hard for a mom, I think, to relinquish their control on their family because that's all I ever done. Even when I worked, every step they took, I was right behind them. Johnny and I never missed a ball game. We never missed an event. You know that. We were there with you too. And so I think when they went away, and I had to truly rely on him to do everything he promised.
What I would like to, the wisdom I would like to have is to know the wisdom of the ability to go to a church other than traditional. Because as I was 25, my wife and I had just gotten married. We were both in church. And we were going to a church that, you know, is a good church, don't you get me wrong, but we were going to a church where I couldn't grow. And the reason being is my wife had been married before. We've been married 36 years. And so I couldn't grow because I couldn't preach. I could teach the Sunday school, I could do whatever, but I couldn't preach the gospel. And I felt a calling in my life at that time. And because I couldn't grow like I needed to, then you either go forward or you go backwards. And so I went backwards. So, you know, you got to be in a church where you can grow. The knowledge I would say is find a church where you're comfortable and you can grow, because God didn't call us to sit and do nothing. But I feel you need to grow in whatever church you're in, and it don't matter what church you're in, grow. Well, there's some that I'd like to tell, don't dilly-dally with the world. You've got to be friends with the children of God. You've got to stay focused with the people that you're familiar with. You know, my mom always said, birds of a feather flock together. So, or even the old saying, if you run with a dog with fleas, you're gonna get fleas. So my advice to them is stay with spirit-led people. Stay with people that are willing to stay in church and go to church and give you wisdom and knowledge. And I would say to those that are trying their best is don't give up. Fight the battle to the very end, because sometimes you might go through a battle, but you got to go through it. Don't get in the battle and stop. Go through the battle, because on the other side, you always come out better than what you were before. And there's always a testimony to somebody of the greatness of God. And we were preaching on that the other night about Paul and Silas in the prison. And they were there, it looked like they didn't have nothing, but they had the praises of God on their heart. And whenever everything began to shake and the walls come down, the people didn't run. When you begin to lift up Christ, people are drawn to it, and that's what he said would happen. So the prisoners that would have had an opportunity to run away, they stayed because of the drawing power of Christ. And even whenever the jailer come in and would have taken his own life, because he felt like he had lost everything because all the prisoners were turned loose and the jails fell down. What happened? He found that there was a reason, there was a hope, and he accepted Christ. And not only was he saved, but his whole house was saved. So, you know, hold on. No matter what the battle is, no matter what you're going through, no matter what somebody's trying to tell you, no matter what somebody is telling you that you shouldn't do or should do, you listen to God and always give God praises, because no matter what you're going through, whenever you give God praises, it's going to be better on the other end.
Pastors Aaron and Christy Blankenship both have powerful testimonies of being saved, delivered, healed, commissioned, and called. They also have a unique passion and ability to present the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you would like to book them or host them at an event, please call 304-922-2620 or visit www.blankenshipministries.org.
Revelation is a book that a lot of people shy away from. And I'm going to be honest, growing up, I shied away from it too. My dad said that when you read the book of Revelation, the devil would stay away from your door. He said that it was so much information about what was going to come at the end, but it was also the story of victory that was going to happen for God's people. And it is. I want to bring you just a portion of Revelation that speaks really loudly to me at this very moment. You know, everything from Genesis to Revelation speaks to those of us who are Christians, who are living for God. But there are seasons, and God is speaking specific things at specific moments, and this is one of those. Chapter 4 says, "After this I looked, and beheld a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter." Everybody's always wanting to know what's next. Christy, what are you doing next? Church, what are you doing next? Pastor, what are you doing next? Hey, so you did such and such, what are you going to do next? You went through this really ugly relationship, what are you going to do next? God says, do you really want to know what I want next? Or are you flying by the seat of your own pants and with your own plans in place, deciding what you're going to do next? God said, let me talk to you. Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know what I want next? When we're not walking ahead of him, but we're not lagging behind. We're walking just where we're supposed to be, right where he wants us to be, in the moment, in the minute that he wants us to be there. Then we're very peaceful, we're very free, we're trusting in him. We have that joy. Joy and happy are two different things. You know, happy, that would happen because of an event, something that created happiness. But joy, that's a choice. That's a fruit of the Spirit. And that's something you can have even when it's storming in your life. So when you're walking right along with him and he's saying, hey, do you really want to know what's next? What have you got in you for next? He says, come up hither, and I will shew thee which must be hereafter. You want to know what happens next? Come with me. But don't just come with me. He says, let's do it up here. He says, let's get above the drama. Let's get above the lies. Let's get above the nonsense. Let's get above the craziness that's going on. And let's get a different perspective. When you look at something from an elevated area, when you look down on something, when you're in an airplane, Pastor Judy Jacobs recently said, when I'm in an airplane, I look out the window and I see the train. I see the beginning of the train and I see the end. But if I'm on the ground, I just see cars and cars and cars and cars right in front of my face. When you're seeing all that right in front of your face, moving and crazy, it's difficult to know what to do next. You just see that block. But when you get above it all, when your perspective, when what you see changes, and you're able to look down at it instead of it looking you in the face, when you change your position, then it will seem so different. Now you're able to see the beginning of the issue and you're able to see the end of it. And now you know what's next. God says, I want to show you things. I want to give you stuff that you haven't seen before. I want to change your perspective. I want you to see with new eyes. I want you to see with my eyes. I want you to see what I see, not only in the world, but in you. So why don't you come up here? He says, sure, I can come down to you. I have come down to you, and I will when I need to. But at this very moment, why don't you come up here? Why don't you come up to me and let me show you what I really, really want you to see? God is literally talking to us about our position. Your position is not your title. Your position might say mom, dad, pastor, praise team member, might say greeter, usher. You may not have a name tag at all. That's the people he wants. Those are the ones he wants to work with the most. He says, I'm not worried about your title, but I am worried about your position. And he says, when I get you to where I want you, you'll have a completely different perspective and you'll see this in a new way. Thank you so very much for choosing to spend your time with us, where we're always running, always walking, always moving toward and walking in our sole purpose.